Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Freshly Pressed. Today we have with us Claudia Matosa. Am I saying it correctly? Awesome. Welcome to the show, Claudia. And yeah, in your own words, can you introduce yourself and give us a background about yourself and how you got into comics?
Yeah. I'm Claudia. I'm Portuguese, and I live in London at the moment.
Yep.
I've been making comics a bit more seriously for a couple of years, but I always I always liked comics since I was a kid, and I think what really got me into it, and I think maybe it was the same for lots of people my age, was these little comic books that they sold in supermarkets. Whenever I went to supermarket with my parents, at the till they would have these comic books uh, for sale. Lots of Disney
Yeah.
comic books. I remember Donald Duck,
Yep.
and there was a lot of other characters that I think were specifically Brazilian, because we only got Brazilian translations and Brazilian comic books. We didn't make comic books in Portugal back then, and I really loved them and all the characters, and I think that's what made me enjoy it quite a lot. And somehow it was always on the back of my mind.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was only a few years ago that I actually started trying to make them.
Wow, that's very interesting. So, which ones were your favorite when you were growing up? I know you said some like Donald Duck and Disney ones, the ones from Brazil, but any specific characters you were definitely your favorite?
I have to say, Donald Duck itself, I used to like him a lot. Uh, it was just funny. I think just uh, how everything seemed to happen to him, but he still got through with things, and just
Yeah,
his kind of explosive personality that was really funny. Uh, yeah, I remember there was this cousin that he had that was very lucky, and he was
yeah,
always like in this uh, little competition with his cousin that I really loved.
yeah, yeah. No, very true, very true. I think the trait that I always appreciated about Donald Duck was he always drove headfirst into the situation and then figured it out on the go.
That's what we do as comic artists as well, isn't it?
Yes, very, very true. Very, very true. So yeah, did you start like drawing at an early age, or were you always drawing? And because you're pretty good at what you do, so like, have you been practicing a lot long before you started making comics?
Thank you. That's funny because I guess lots of people are like that, but I don't think I'm good. I'm very good, and I think that's why I keep on trying to be better. I used to draw a lot when I was a kid. I forgot about it, which is funny. But yesterday, a few weeks ago, I was in my parents' house, and they have all these drawings that I did when I was a kid, stored in a drawer, and I was looking through them. And, oh, I drew. I barely remember it, and I at some point I think I gave up because I thought I couldn't draw people, and for
Mm,
many years I was just working, as we talked a bit before the podcast began, as a
yeah,
web developer. Um, but it was only, I think, must have been about 3 years ago, 3 4 years ago, that I actually started drawing again, and I realized, okay, there's these things that I don't know how to do, and I picked up some books and some videos and started learning, and
yeah.
I'm still doing that
That's
up until
amazing.
today.
That's amazing. Now, I think that's probably the best way to learn as well, right? To by doing, and like also you're maybe now that even part of web development, there's a huge um, thing about illustrations that like you can all websites now need illustrations, right? So you can basically practice them while you're at work as well. So yeah.
Just convince the boss to put a little illustration in the website.
Yeah, very very true, very very true. Have you ever done that before?
I don't think so, but I got to do it for my own website, so I'm happy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. No, your own website is actually quite well made as well. That kind of shows that your skill as a web developer as well. It's pretty good. So yeah, awesome. Tell us a bit about the story of Last Day of Rain, and what's the story so far, and what's in issue 3 and 4, without spoiling.
Yeah, it's half spoiled. No, it's not spoiled there. I don't think. I guess. I hope it's teasing. Uh, so this is a mix of a love story and mystery with a bit of politics in there. But when I began it, I intended for it to be a bit fun as well. So there are bits of comedy.
Yeah.
It's mm, I have a pitch, but I always think about which pitch I should use. So
Use all of them.
she's yeah, okay. I'll try mix them all. Uh,
Yeah.
so she's the main character. Carol lives in 2091 in London, where it doesn't rain because of climate change. It's
Yeah.
so hot that clouds don't even aren't even formed, and
Wow.
she dreams to see rain again, and she's researching how to see rain again. She's an engineer, but one day their research is stolen from their lab, and one of her colleagues goes disappears as well,
Yeah.
and she's not sure if he was the one who took her research, and she'll have to go after him. That's what
Mm,
happens in the first chapters,
mm.
and now in the next chapters we'll figure out if she's going to find him or not. There is the love story bit that's in there is that he confessed his feelings for her,
Yeah.
so that's why she's not sure if he ran away because she rejected him, or if he ran away because he stole the data. So that's what she's
Yeah.
gonna have
Yeah.
to find out. Uh,
That's very
there's a bit.
interesting.
Thank you. I mean, we'll see. I'll try. uh, but
Keep
yeah,
going. Keep
now
going.
yeah. The rest now in the next chapter, she's gonna go into a neighborhood in London that's underground. That's where all the rich people live, and that's where she
Yeah.
thinks that he ran away.
Mm.
Yeah, once you're reading the comic, you'll understand why. But yeah, that's where she
That's
lived
amazing.
before. Yeah, yeah, that will. Yeah,
Oh, okay. That's where she lived before. Yeah, interesting.
that was
So
just
that's
a
she's
little
going
teaser.
back into her past. Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Awesome. That's amazing. That's actually a very interesting pitch. I did read chapters 1 and 2, and I really like them. So I'm really looking forward to 3 and 4 now. So you're doing 3 and 4 together in this campaign?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Well,
So how far have you planned the story
I
already?
I have the entire story planned. I know. I'll have 6 chapters as well. I know how which chapter ends, and I know I have everything. Basically, I have the script, and it's also laid out in panels. But and not but and now, um, penciling. Uh, as I'm doing this, I'm penciling the third chapter now.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Hmm.
it's interesting because as you're penciling, you realize that okay, there's this bit here that needed to be expanded or needs to be better explained. And what I realized is that the book started with the plan started with 28 pages, but now it has 40. So it will be good fun.
Yeah, it's always good. It's always good to make more and then edit. But I always try to like I feel like if I start writing and get in the flow of a story, and I initially thought of doing like say 25, 28 pages, always end up doing like 50, and then I have to
Yeah, it's
go
good.
back, read, edit, and remove parts of it, to make it work better. Because I'm pretty sure you do get self indulgent at one point with the story and
Like,
everything.
yeah, I can draw all of this.
Yeah, very,
Nope.
very true. Like, I mean, you can, uh, but then you have to go back and see what works and what doesn't, right? Like, not everything works. At least, like for me, that's the case. Every time I read, I am like, why did I write this? Like these 3 pages at all?
Exactly, and then it's the killing your darlings thing, isn't it? That you have to, but it
Yeah,
hurts. It looked so good in the beginning, and then you realize. It's funny because something that I find when because this is a big project, right? And I realize that sometimes this bit that I did here, I doesn't connect that well with what's gonna happen after, and then I have to
yeah,
change it. I have to change it there to make sense with the rest. And I think why is this happening? How do we get from here to here? And it's yeah, you just keep kind of editing and editing and editing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Very, very true. I, what happened? Like, uh, I wrote this bit, which was like I actually put a lot of effort into writing that. But I did some research, like a research for a week, to get my facts right, and I wrote the whole bit, and then I found it like it was like completely disconnected from the rest of the story, and I was like, oh, this is not working at all, and I have to give this up. It just felt so bad doing that, but in a good way. Like I actually created it out, I took it out, and I made it into an artifact rather than like part of the main story, and I think that kind of helps sometimes, that you can, these things, extra things that you work on, end up becoming these side stories or side plots, or artifacts that you put with the story. Do you have any such like side stories or side tracks in your book?
yes, for sure, loads, and it's difficult to keep them out sometimes. Uh, that first chapter, the prologue, is
Yeah,
a side story. It contains a side story in itself. If you look up there, actually, since you're looking at it, where you have the that couple hugging, or those two
yeah,
people hugging,
yeah,
that's Carol's grandmother, and that is a side story that will appear in a little bit more in the story after. But it's not the main story, but it was something that I wanted to have there because it offered kind of an insight into who Carol is and what her family is and why it exists. So it was still important to the story, but in the beginning when I started writing it, that was a big part of the story, and then it ended up not being. So
yeah,
it was
yeah, yeah.
exactly that. It ended up just helping the story, which is quite cool. That's what it's
Nice.
as you say. You have to write to see. Uh, yeah, you have to write
Yeah,
to see what's gonna
and
happen.
very true, very true. And I know, I think it's even more difficult when you're drawing it, right? Because you've already put that amount of effort into like writing and drawing it at the same time. So yeah.
It's all a learning process.
Very true. Yeah, yeah. Do you I must ask this. I think story obviously is about climate change and has a lot of elements of environmentalism to it. Is that a cause that's very close to your heart? Like, do you feel very strongly about that? And like, do you want to bring some sort of awareness through your books as well?
Yeah, partially that's the idea. When I began writing this, it wasn't about climate change, but as the story developed, I ended up thinking how these people live in this year. What, how are things going to be for them? How's the climate? How do they live? How do they survive? And I ended up researching about yeah, global warming and the kind of effects that it has. And I saw this interesting bit about clouds dissipating with heat. So I thought it could
Mm,
be an interesting hook.
yeah.
Um, but what I wanted to kind of convey with this story is that this is bad, but we can find a way of fixing things if we get together, and people survive in difficult circumstances, and they still survive, and they still find ways, and it's a way of coping with anxiety as well. So in a way, in a roundabout way, I'm trying to say that this is a way of coping with climate anxiety, uh,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree to that as well, and I think, like you said, it's a story about hope, and the message is that even I know as human beings we have messed up, you know, we have messed up the environment, and climate change and global warming is very real, but there's still hope, and we can, even after all hope is lost, we can always come back together and try and make it work, and that's because we are resilient as a species, and uh, there is good in all of us. So I, yeah, it's a great message. That's
That's what we have to strive for.
awesome. That's very true. Tell us a bit about some of the rewards that you're giving as a part of the campaign.
Yeah. So there's the usual things that you can get: the digital books, or you can get the 4 books as well in case you haven't
Yeah.
read them. Yeah, then the physical books, which is it's all pretty standard. Not a lot to it. Then there is one uh, after. I'm not sure if it's after that. I have a variant cover uh, version as well for chapters 3 and 4, and actually that's a sketch of the main cover, but actually I have the variant cover down there. Uh, it's gonna be a bit more improved, but I wanted to show more or less what it's gonna look like.
Yeah.
It's a long
Yeah.
campaign. Yeah, she's mad. Uh, yeah. um, so yeah, I've got that, which is also pretty usual. And
Yeah.
then a tote bag, which I don't have the design for that as well, because I wanted to see if people would be interested. But I'm going
Mm,
to be working on that in the next week. I'll try to get some previews, and a
nice.
T-shirt as well. And I also then have, that's my favorite bits. I have uh, a bit where people can choose to be in the book, uh,
Ah,
which is
yes.
yeah, there you go. So that's the one that has there's 10 spots there. I was surprised
Mm.
that three people picked it. I'm like, okay, I know where I'm gonna put them already. So if you there's I think there's an example that I put in there on top, that has some examples of scenes in the other chapters where there's crowds. So it would be
Ah, yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Cool.
yeah. So it would be something like that, but not that obviously. Uh, so yeah,
Nice. Yeah, I think it's this kind of rewards are catching on nowadays, right? Like drawing into the book or writing a character in the book. Do
and I
you
think it's.
also plan for the speaking characters? Sorry, you were saying?
Oh yes, I have that. That one has an interesting story. I when I created the campaign, I just had the rewards. The reward was you'll appear in a sequence in the book. It's a sequence where Carol is walking along the street, and I'm not going to say much, but she bumps into a commuter who's trying to go to work, and she gets in her way with her dog. So I will put the backer in there, and I didn't have this before, but then I thought, okay, I think this if I'm going to have this price, I should do something else. So I added the digital color commission to that, which I think
That's
is
awesome.
a bit better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's amazing. No, I think these are some really decent rewards. If you've got some backers for that as well, right? For the at least for the draw in the book ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, nice, nice.
it's
One
going
thing
to
I
be good fun.
actually loved about. Sorry, you were saying?
It's gonna be good fun. Drawing my backers in there. I'm actually really
Do
looking
you
forward.
do you usually use their pictures to create a likeliness of how they look like? Like, do you draw a caricature or something based on their picture?
Yeah, I'm thinking of asking for a photo, and yeah, I'll base it on that. Of course, it's cartoony, so it's never gonna be too realistic, but I'll do my best to create their likeness.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Uh, One thing I always love in comics is sometimes when people have different things that create a different kind of experience while reading a comic. And I think in your book, I read your book with the playlist. So I listened to the playlist while I was reading it, and I think that's a great idea. I absolutely loved it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Do
I
you want
have
to
good
talk a bit
fun.
about? Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's I think I usually am listening to some songs when I'm creating these chapters, and I usually create the playlist in the beginning, and I start adding songs to it. And as I'm drawing, I start tweaking the playlist, and in the end, I end up with something that I feel that fits the mood more or less. I try to reorder them in a way that follows the sequence of the book. But it's yeah, I do that mostly just for fun. It helps me. It helps me with the mood. So I thought, yeah, why not share it with people as well?
that's a brilliant thing. I absolutely loved it. It
Yeah,
was
thank you.
a bit of a surprise when I opened like when I started reading chapter one, and then and I was like, let's do it the way you want to do it. Start, listen to the playlist and read the book. Though you can finish the book faster than the songs, so
That's a problem.
but yeah, it was still pretty good, and it goes with the theme of the book really well as well. So great work there.
Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking of in the future maybe getting an actual musician to do something. Maybe when I'm towards the last chapter. Uh, I have a friend who's a musician, and we discussed it briefly at some point, and maybe that could become
Yeah,
cool.
that's a great idea. I did have a chat with somebody who created a soundtrack for their comic, and it was just a theme to start with, and then I think one theme and one song. It's not a lot, but I think it was still good enough for you to like say this is the theme, and yeah. This is pretty good. So I think that's a great idea. You must do it.
I'll get this started.
Yeah. Um, Good stuff. So, like, do you, let's get back into our chat about yourself. You remember, I always love to put people on the spot and ask them about their top five favorite things in pop culture. So, what are the five things that you love, and that kind of inspires your work, and as well.
Well, as you mentioned, the playlists, singer songwriters and rock bands. I'm not a groupie, but I enjoy listening to music a lot. Depends on the artist, I guess. But yeah, I do enjoy listening to music a lot. Um, Reading books, I am not. I mean, that's pop culture. I do
Yeah, of
read
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I read a lot. A lot.
So
Oh, so go ahead.
no, no, no. I was just about to say, like, which book is which are like your top two books, say for example, favorite books.
uh, I would say Lord of the Rings is a bit cliche, maybe, but it's what one of the things that propelled me to try and write fiction because of the dedication that he had to the world that he was creating. And he was so the stories almost came in as naturally. They almost came in naturally because that world that he was developing existed,
Hmm.
and I
Fantastic.
read
Yeah,
all
that's
of
a good
that as a.
choice.
It's quite obvious. Other books. I should remember. I should remember, but I always forget these things when people ask me. I can speak about the comic book though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Go for it.
yeah. There was this one that I read. This comic that I read sometime ago, called Day Tripper. I don't know if you heard
Okay,
about it.
I haven't read. No.
It's by two Brazilian brothers. If I'm not wrong, one writes and the other draws the art, but I'm not completely sure. And it's beautiful. It's just really colorful, and it's very contemplative. It's about this character that's facing death, but it's very metaphorical, and
Mm.
it's just beautiful. So uh, but yeah, it's complicated. It's complicated. I don't know if it happens to you as well. It's complicated to think of a favorite book
I
because
know it's very
yeah.
hard. I always say like two or three of these things, and then after an hour, I'm like, "Oh, hang on! I should have said the other things too as well, right? I completely forgot about them." Yeah, but
Oh
I
yeah,
think that's great. I love Lord of the Rings. Definitely send me a recommendation for like send me the link to that book that you
they
just
trip it.
mentioned. Yeah, sounds very interesting. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Ah, another one that I read recently that was quite interesting as well. It was a sci-fi book called The Book of Collie. It's a
Okay.
series of three, if I'm not wrong.
Hmm.
I'm surprised it's not more known, but it begins in this very low tech society, and there's really nice world building as well. It's also
Okay.
here. It also happens here in the UK, but you don't know. You only realize it as you're reading, uh, and
Right.
it's very low tech, and then you realize that they're actually in the future dealing with the consequences of a really bad effort of. A really bad a reforestation effort that went wrong. I'm not gonna say. I was gonna say more, but it's really, really, really nice read.
Wow, I must definitely read that one. That sounds like a great book. Yeah, awesome. What did I can tell you what I read recently. I have been reading a lot of Australian and indie comics in general, like more recently. So obviously, I read your book last week, and a bunch of others that I got from Kickstarter fulfillment. Um, I think the top book that I read, I spoke with another Australian creator last earlier this week, and I read his whole series of like 8 books in a go, and that was pretty interesting. It's about uh, it's about a stud bull on a dairy farm, and like he just gets bored and tired of just eating grass all day and just stands up on 2 feet one day and just walks out into the city, walks out
Oh,
on the farmer and goes to the city. And it's the whole story is like his adventures of like being in the city, and like being this uh, naive person from the rural side, and into big city life. And it's very interesting. It's actually a great read. It's from the early '90s. The whole like they've written it from 1994 to 1998, 97, and the books also kind of remind you of that time as well. So it's I'm a late '80s and early '90s kid, so I do remember. I like because I was growing up at that time. I do remember a lot of things from that time. So, yeah. But yeah, that and I like X-Men. I always buy the latest X-Men, so that is my always all-time favorite uh, comic series. So yeah, always
yeah, it's
updated
fun,
on my X-Men.
as you should.
Nice, nice. We're coming close to time, but before we go, we I want you to make a quick pitch about the comic and the rewards and everything else, and and yeah, tell the audience about the book, and the floor is yours.
Tell the audience about the book. Get the book. Uh, uh, well, I think if you enjoy sci-fi, like lo-fi sci-fi post-apocalyptic narratives, I think you'll enjoy it. If you like love stories as well, this is a story that I have been working on for some time now, but I'm hoping that this year I'm going to get it finished. Fingers crossed. But yeah, it's I think it's probably a good fit if you like comics. Yeah, soft sci-fi. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, a female lead, which is easier for me to do, of course. But yeah, no, I
awesome.
don't think I was very good at this, but
No, that's fine. You've done great. I think you've already made a great pitch earlier in the chat. So, adding to that, I would say that the book is. I've read the books, issues 1 and 2. They're great. They're beautifully drawn as well, and the world building is actually quite good. There's it's a very different kind of read. I think in the sense that. Uh, for me, I personally post-apocalyptic books are hit or miss for me most of the time, but this one resonated with me because one, it talks a lot about climate change and the things that we're going through and the effects of it. The lead characters are very likable, and that's the great thing. You have to. uh, and it is I love the post apocalyptic books that are more speculative in nature rather than that's based on something that's completely out of the blue. So I think I would say get these books, add them to your collection. They're a great read. Support Claudia's book. She's doing great work. So yeah, back the campaign.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you for coming on the show, Claudia, and appreciate you having here. And all the best for rest of the campaign, and for the future works.
And thank you very much for having me. I've been really enjoying your other podcasts, so please carry on. They're really good. I really like how down to earth they are. I've I listen to a lot. I sometimes have them just on my screen, and I'm just hearing people speaking while I work. And it's just lovely. So please,
Wow, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Awesome. Till next time, have a good one.
you too. Thank you.